Welcome back to MikiCarrBeauty. I'm Miki, and on my channel I love to talk about luxury skincare and beauty and sometimes luxury goods. And today we're doing a review and try-on and demo of the new BYREDO Remembrance palette. This is an 18 pan palette. BYREDO comes out with these every year of a curated collection of 18 shadows, and this retails $105. So if you're interested in seeing how I got this look and two other looks, and then hearing my thoughts about this collection compared to the last year's collection, the Flora Kalahari, then keep watching. But before we continue, please consider subscribing by clicking the all button below and commenting and liking. It helps up my channel. And with that out of the way, let's begin. So my BYREDO package for the Remembrance palette finally came in, and I just wanted to show you this beautiful packaging. This box that it came in, this BYREDO raised lettering, and then BYREDO here, and they're definitely going for that luxury packaging. I love these ribbons. It reminds me of ribbons like parents put in little girls' hairs, but definitely edgier. These are black and white ribbons. So the box slid out of this compartment here, and I think I did order, yes, with the order you get 2 samples, and the samples come in here. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Those are my little samples. So I got one of their perfumes, BYREDO Rose of No Man's Land, their newish lipstick. This is the palette, so beautiful. Look at that. BYREDO on the edge, really beautiful. And they don't have names to the pans, but just numbers. Go ahead and open the palette, and that, ooh, and I've seen this with other people, that this pan has come very loose. Okay, so I ended up picking up through the BYREDO website this beautiful BYREDO Remembrance palette. And I'm going to read from the website here. The Remembrance eyeshadow palette is limited edition, and if it's available still, I will put the links below to the BYREDO website, and then I believe Saks and maybe Selfridges. And in US dollars, it's a $105. It has 18 shadows. It comes with this huge mirror here, inspired by a remembrance of things past and a blending of color and emotion. Second skin textures in warm nudes, roses, and browns are juxtaposed with silvers. Colors travel from light to dark and through metallic, matte, and radiant shine finishes, with instinctive and sensual pigment that adheres with a single stroke. The effortless gliding application and long-lasting wear encourages intuitive experimentation and agency for the wearer. Housed in a new mirrored steel case designed by founder and creative director Ben Gorman, with Mnemosyne in Greek mythology, the goddess of memory and mother of the muses, appearing on the mirrored steel casing, at once monumental and intimate. In this eyeshadow palette, I want to evoke an idea of the past and in the present, an idea of memory as something between fact and a dream. The elegance of color is effortless. It is the halo of memory where things are refined and romanticized. Lucia Capica, creative image and makeup partner at BYREDO. So the palette, and talking about the shades particularly, according to the website, it says it's a lightweight texture, glide on soft and creamy texture, easy to apply with fingertips, easy to blend, buildable texture, 18 colors. And I would say this formula is very much true to the BYREDO 18 palette formula. So I would say it's very similar to the Flora Kalahari palette. And for me, I find it really easy to use. The mattes are really easy to use. I also use my fingers when I'm using the pigments or the shimmer shades. And it's definitely soft and creamy. Not creamy in a Natasha Denona way. I find Natasha Denona creamy mattes and mattes really difficult to work with, but these are really easy. And I have hooded lids and some crepiness up there, just so you know. So I find this formula of BYREDO to be really, I mean, in my opinion, to be like beginner friendly, age lidded, you know, kind of crepey friendly. So, and then I'll do some footage of me trying on the makeup. I believe it's like 2 or 3 different eye looks, but we'll do that and then I'll come back with the final review. For look number 1, I really wanted to start with the lighter shades, so the middle, and Using that shade that looks closest to my skin tone, I was curious to see if it would even actually show up. And on the camera, it doesn't show so much, but there is a slight color. So I go to the color that's more pinky neutral, and you see that it's got a pink shift. So it's a very light crease. So for my skin tone, this would be a great diffusing shade.
Shade 9 and then 3.
So the next one I go into is a combination of two colors, 3 and 9, I believe. And using Refer 13, going into the deeper rosewood, I'm just really experimenting to see which colors actually show up on my lids and with my skin tone. And this is probably the best one in terms of a crease shade that actually has impact. So I'm using a squirrel hair brush to diffuse the look. So I actually have 3 shadows here, and it's because I'm getting to know the palette. And then I want to see what depth I can use up in this palette. So I use the deepest brown in the inner corner V, which is a lovely, lovely brown, chocolatey brown color. So I'm loving this color as an outer corner V, or making a smoky look for other looks you'll see. And then going back into the squirrel hair brush to just blend things together. And then using that middle shimmer shade, it's a Hakahoro brush. It's a really great one. And it does have some fallout, so I'm going to go ahead and use, I think I used a Chantecaille rose water spray, and using that in the outer third. And then going into the rose kind of, it's kind of like a rose gold color. Same thing, there's a little bit of fallout, so I'm using the Chantecaille rose water to make sure it sticks to my lid. And I found with some of this palette that's probably the best thing to do, to either use a glitter glue or wet the shadows down. And then going to that upper corner, it's like a gray silver, and for the inner corner, and then going in with my finger to see if I can build up the impact of that rose gold shade. And it is a beautiful color. And then doing for the bottom lid, I'm using the same colors, the light pink, and then I'll use probably a deeper color here. It's more of like a neutral light brown for dimension and for my eyeshadow. And then going back into that, really the lightest shade in the palette. It's like a light matte. And here's the final look with eyeliner and mascara. And it brings the look together. I'm loving this look. I wore purposely a pink shirt to kind of get me in the mood to wear the pink eyeshadows. And then going into that deeper rosewood color for a blush, using a Katie Jane Hughes Spectrum brush, which is synthetic, and it works just fine. I'm finding that these are pretty pigmented. It might not seem on the camera, but I'm also using natural light, so the colors of this shot is actually a little bit blown out. So in real life, it was very, very pink. And the color is just so, so pretty for spring and summer. I'm really pleased to be using this entire palette as a face palette. And then going to Lisa Eldridge Muse lip gloss, because it's kind of like this light pink on me, and I just love it. It's like a neutral pink. And that's the final look. It's such a soft, everyday, easy pink look. And these are shots with my iPhone. Sometimes I get better realistic pictures and colors with my iPhone versus the Sony that I film with. So again, shots in front of the window, natural light. And I had a good filming day here, but fortunately the next couple days I have some overcast. So here's a demo of looks 2 and 3. And the next day I'm having some lighting issues, and it's a sunny day out, but it's the shades are drawn. And just going in again to get me started on a neutral color, and going back to a crease with that kind of brown color, because I think it just shows up more for crease shades. And the thing about these mattes are that they're really easy to use. I think they're pretty beginner friendly. They remind me about a little bit of the ease of the Viseart mattes, if you haven't tried those before, but those are really beginner friendly. Loving this shimmer shade. It's a little bit got a gold shift, And I love this silver kind of like a subdued shimmer shade. It's like a silver gray. It's so fun, and it's a really buildable shade. And again, I like to go in with my fingers to see if I can build these shades up. These shades are not like the traditional 5-pan in the teardrop palettes, the ones that look like oysters. Those have a little bit more tack and oil, but these are a little bit more ethereal and just very light compared. So I finished up my eye look with mascara, Giga Black on the bottom, and Chantecaille on the top, and then a combination of some Wayne Goss eyeliners in his kohl pencils, and I believe I used Copper Flame and Tiger's Eye, a combination of those, because it's kind of like a brownie red, but not too deep of a brown. So here is the look up close. Let me, on this eye, as you saw, I used mostly these two as the crease shades, but on this eye, I primarily used these two, and then that as a topper, and then this eye I used these two with this as a topper, and it looks pretty good. And you know, to the discernible eye, it doesn't look very much different. I'll go back in here and do a little more of that topper of that silver so you can see, so it pops. That's a fun one. I didn't want to use any sort of glitter glue on this time, but I think I might do that because it is slightly flaky. So I'll let you know throughout the day how that goes. And this is actually the one I've seen other people's palettes that it's arrived broken or crumbled, and people have had to push it back into the pan. So this is the crumbliest pan out of this whole 18 pan series. And then I went to this gold one as like a topper just to see what that would look like. So it's a little bit warmer. It's an interesting mix of warms and cools in this palette, but they're both really pretty. So I'm going to try to use this one as a blush, and I'm tapping into it, but it's very pigmented, so I'm diffusing it a little bit. It's very pretty. It's very orange, but for my complexion, warm tones tend to look pretty good with my complexion. And I'm still filming in natural light. It's afternoon light, but it's I'm facing a window, so I have non-direct light, but I had to diffuse it a little bit because it blows me out a little bit when I don't pull my shade down. So I'm over blushing, just so you know. I would not normally wear this much blush in real life because it's a little bit too much blush, but for the sake of the video, I just want to show you how much those pigments build up as a potential blusher. You know, I wasn't initially going to get this palette, but when I saw it after on some swatches on some people, I'm like, oh, this can be not just an eyeshadow palette, this could be a face palette. So, oh, I actually love this one more because it's kind of like an orangey pinky color. Okay, so I already know for the next look what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use this more as an olive crease and then focus the ones on a smokier look at the bottom. Okay, so as you can see, I did one look. This is look number 2. And this is look number 3. Okay, so I raised the blinds on my window just so you can get some more light. And this is more probably like a little bit more blown out, but more natural daylight. So this is the lipstick on the Fence. It's this color. It's kind of like on me, it's kind of like a rosewood or brown rosewood. It's really beautiful, actually. It has a little bit of that BYREDO perfume, which I'm not really keen on. BYREDO is primarily, it started as a perfume company. So they put a lot of perfume in their lipsticks, and I love their lipstick colors and quality, but the lipsticks have a lot of perfume. So I actually got rid of my other ones because the lip smell never went away. But I just got this as a sample just so you could see, because I think it would, yeah, it really actually matches nicely with this palette. So, okay, so this is the final look. Number 11 is used as a blush, and then I primarily stuck to these shades up here. I really love this as a blush. I'm gonna grab my Hermes bronzer. Really nice one for me in the summer. It reminds me a lot of bronzer from Chanel last year, the oversized bronzer. Okay. And there's actually 3 different tones in here that you can swirl. So that is the final look. Let me know what you think. I really love this shimmer here. I love the combination of the cool and the warm. Yes, I think I favor this eye just because there's some more pop there and there's like some warmth here. And then if I wanted to smoke it out a little bit and make it a little bit more of a smoky look because I have hooded eyes, that's a nice thing to do, is just to add a little depth and interest at the back. So I just grabbed actually the darkest shade here and I'm mixing it with these 2 dark ones down here. And I go back and forth because that deepest shade is a little bit too dark, at least for daytime for me, of what I prefer. Okay, and there is fallout with that silver shade, just so you know. I'm seeing some fallout here. Okay, and we'll see how it lasts throughout the day. Okay, so that's the final number, looks number 2 and 3. And so I do like it more with some depth. It adds a little more interest. I'm dragging some of that deeper shade down here, just so when you go a little bit outside here, it also kind of makes your eyes look a little bit bigger. So just want to add some depth there. Nice. And I like the lipstick. It's actually really, really nice. And I just use my fingers to put it on. I could put probably more on and make it more impactful, but like this is like a beautiful kind of like an everyday nudie pink for me. Okay, I'm happy with this look. Let me know what you think. So here we are on the last day of the demos. And I want to concentrate on the deeper shades at the bottom of the palette, the ones that are deeper and more orange. And that orange color is so beautiful. It is definitely medium tan person friendly. And then I'm going in with a more like a defined brush just to build the color in the outer V and to smoke out and build up the matte shades as much as possible. These mats are pretty easy to use. They kind of blend themselves. I find them easier than Natasha Denona or Pat McGrath. And then going into that shimmer shade, there's no fallout on that one. It's pretty easy. And then I want to use the deepest shimmer shade. It's like a beautiful brown with some gold in it. And putting that in my outer V. And it's just a beautiful color to use. And then using that silver shade, and this reminds me of the traditional BYREDO formula where there's a little bit of oil and it goes on really with a huge impact. So that silver shade pops, going back into the deepest matte shade, that brown, to just build up the color like a liner on the top and the bottom. And I wanted to see if I could do a daytime smoky look, and then blending the outer V just because it's a smoky look, just kind of going back and checking and then building it up and taking my time. The thing with smoky looks is that you want to take your time to do it and not do it too sloppy. And then going in with the original brush for the orange and then diffusing all the colors together and blending. And then I'm going to go into my second eye look to that rosewood color that I actually used for a blush in the previous look. And I want to see if I can use that all over my eyelid, and it's just beautiful. This is the color that I was wanting from the Pat McGrath Mothership palette. It reminds me of a very Pat McGrath color. And then going into that kind of, like I guess a champagne-y beige, and then going next door to see that color next to it. And I noticed when you go through the palette, the top, it looks more like daytime colors to the middle, and then the bottom looks like either evening or smokier look. So I wanted to try to do a daytime look for my other eye. And then using that same rosewood color on the bottom lash to connect the look together. And then using that deeper, kind of like a medium brown as a liner with my flat definer by Sonia G. And then this is kind of like a beautiful deeper pink, mauvey pink.
And you'll see in the finished look, I actually raised the shade so it's going to actually look brighter and better lighting for the final look. Okay, just wanted to show you this finished up look. I had two different eye looks, and on the finishing up the looks, I just tight lined with a Wayne Goss liner. I love his kohls because they are really good for tight lining. Yeah, so I grabbed this Wayne Goss kohl pencil, Tiger's Eye, and it's this really nice brown. And then MAC Giga Black at the bottom lashes, and then the Gucci mascara for my top lashes. And then on my face, I just wanted a quick base look. I used the Demesomyrix number 4, the blurring balm powder, which, yay, I panned. And then for my under eye, I always start with the corrector, this medium to deep Becca under eye brightening corrector. It's my go-to. Even if I'm not wearing makeup, I will put this under my eyes. It just brightens up my eyes. And then I am using my Chanel Sublimage Le Correcteur Yeux concealer in 40. It is a bit too light, but it's so great for brightening. And I'm still wear testing the Natasha Denona concealer, so I wanted just to compare the concealers. I wanted to compare the concealers, like, just sometimes if I'm not sure if I like the concealer, I like to try it with another. I like to try a different concealer the next day to see like my baseline of what is a good concealer. The last thing I did was I finished with this BYREDO sampler on the Fence, this lipstick color on my lips. It's a nice color. I have a lot of lipstick colors this same shade. I don't think it's kind of a dry formula, so it's not super emollient, but I wanted to create a BYREDO look. I haven't put anything else on my cheeks. I haven't put any bronzer on. So this eye, I wanted pretty much to try all these colors down here. So using these colors down here, I just wanted to try what a smoky look would look like. So I pretty much use all of these shadows down here for this look, and I could even just go smokier with this, but this is as smoky as I wanted for a daytime. But certainly what I noticed with this palette is you can use this palette in a couple different ways. You can go one row by row, and this is a look. You can use this 3 as a look. This is a nice daytime. This is a nice evening one. This is also a nice daytime. And as you go lighter, these are all like really nice daytime, but you can also get more glamorous with the glitter shimmer shades here. That really pops. You also can use this palette in terms of quads. So you could use these 4 here, or those 4, these 4, or those 4. There's so many different ways you can use this palette. I wouldn't use it down the row. That is like a little bit overwhelming just for me and my preference. So on this eye, I pretty much use these 4 colors for this eye look, and I love it. I think this color here is just so pretty for medium skin tan people. This is such a beautiful orangey shade, plus this. I mean, that's a pretty basic colors for mattes. And then you have this deep chocolatey brown that really just warms up and smokes out the outer lid. But really the star of the show is this shade down here, this silver, where I'm going to actually put a little bit more on. This is so fun. What I'm really loving in this whole palette, the whole color story is fantastic, but the silvers are really surprising me. It almost seems like a warm tone palette mixed with cool. And usually you don't see that in curations. You either see all warm or all cool. But in this palette, you're seeing a lot of warm down here, warm, and then there's some cool colors like these here, up here. And it's actually working, and it looks really beautiful. So although I used warm here for the crease, I use the cool shimmer pop on the inner corner. So that is that look. It's smoky. I love it. And then I have this more soft daytime look. And I pretty much use mostly these 6 colors here. And I think it's a beautiful daytime look. It reminds me a lot of Divine Rose 1 from Pat McGrath. And I actually sold that mothership. And there was a moment where I kind of had a regret, but then I was like, no, I decided to sell it and get rid of it out of my collection because I just wasn't reaching for it. And moreover, for something about the tone of that mothership, in my opinion, every time I wore it, it looked really ashy on me. So these colors here are kind of like my answer to what I was missing from the Mothership Divine Rose 1 palette. I just love these colors. I'm just going to swatch them again for you just so you can see some of the tones and how they show up. And especially this row, I love it. Look how beautiful this is. Okay, so that look here is mostly these, and I consider that more of like a daytime everyday, and if I have a fall smoky look, I could go there. Let's finish up this look with blush. Okay, so I took off my blazer because sometimes if you're wearing a color that is bright, it can kind of distract the look. Okay, so I'm going into this color here, that orange one, just to see what it would look like as a blush. And I'm using my Katie Jane Hughes blush brush. So pretty. That's it. It's beautiful. So going, you know, I used most of these 6 shades down here. So beautiful as a face palette. I'm just so over the moon with this palette because it might not seem super exciting, but this is like a neutral lover's, pinky, cool lover's dream. This is something like if you're, you know, someone who's like new to makeup and you want some reliable colors, I would definitely go for this palette. I want to actually see what this one looks like. It's pretty pigmented, and I'll go on the other side. That looks really lovely, and it's such an intense color. I'm keeping it mostly back here. And then I'm wiping off the rest of this, and then I'm going to go into this lighter shade on top above here, and I'm pinching the ferrule a little bit because the pan is big enough but small enough that I might have to pinch this. So going into the lighter shade and then using the lighter shade closer to my apples of my cheek. And so you're seeing me use this definitely as a face palette. So again, this is the one that's back here, and this is more towards the front. And then I use this orangey color as a blush over here. I don't know if I could use any of these as a contour or a bronzer. The browns here are too orange leaning, and I'll show you why. Like, I just think they're not good for bronzers or contouring. Yeah, that would be too deep as a bronzer, and there's just like a reddish tint to it that are, for me, these are better as blushes or eyeshadow shades. So I'm not going to use any of these as bronzers, but you can get an idea of how this palette is. So here is the final look. And tell me what you think. Again, I've been really loving using this palette, not just for eyes, but for my face. The lipstick is okay. I feel like it's a little dry, and actually I'm going to... Okay, thank God for gloss or lip oil. I just grabbed the Merit lip oil in Marrakesh. Yeah, that's that one. It's a little bit orange, so it just kind of warms up the look, and yeah, that looks a lot better. I think this palette is lovely. I am so glad I didn't sleep on it. Now, a lot of you know that Lucia Pica used to be the creative director at Chanel, and a lot of us were wondering how her first launch would look like. There was some question of whether the first launch would be her classic Chanel red. So when she was at Chanel, she did a lot of red quads. And excuse me, I'm still getting over being sick, so you'll hear me kind of have a frog in my throat or just talking lower because just my throat's been really just naggy the past 3 weeks. I think this is a beautiful palette. I think if you like these color stories of roses, browns, and then some pops of silver and cool tones, then I would not sleep on this palette. So unlike other companies like Natasha Denona or maybe sometimes even Pat McGrath, they might say they're limited edition and then they hang on, or Charlotte Tilbury, like you'll see those products still hanging on for a year or two after. So it's a little bit like Chanel, like once they say it's exclusive and limited edition and it's gone, it's gone. So if you are even thinking about getting this palette, do not sleep on it, because you can no longer get the Flora Kalahari palette and the Prisma, the colorful one they first came out with. So every year BYREDO is coming out, it looks like the pattern is they're coming out with these 18 pan, curated 18 pan collections. And so this is the third year that they're doing this. The packaging is fantastic. It's a fancy plastic. I constantly have to wipe it down, but I'm not bothered by that. I think it's really beautiful. You have the BYREDO logo here, and it's a huge mirror here. And I have the Flora Kalahari palette from last year. I don't have the colorful one, the first one they came out with, and I regret not having it because it's more of a creative palette. It was super colorful, but there's something about this formula of BYREDO that's a lot different than what's on the market. So it reminds me a little bit of kind of like Japanese aesthetic, like Syrah. Not as soft and ethereal, but a little bit on that spectrum. So the colors are going to be soft on how they apply, and to me they're pretty easy. I actually enjoy how these apply more than Pat McGrath. Like those mattes can be a little bit too pigmented and hard to work with, where the mattes in BYREDO I actually find I like better, and I actually like these mattes better than the Natasha Denona mattes. It has to do with preference. It's just what I like. I think these are easier to work with. The shimmers are not at the level of Natasha Denona or Pat McGrath, but that's okay. That's okay, because I don't need to have those really makeup artists, high-end editorial looks for an everyday look. And in fact, I don't reach for those every day. You know, I'm a working professional outside the home, and I don't need an editorial look for what I'm going for. With this palette, I can use every day, and I can see myself using this as a top shelf item. And let's talk about the formula. It says here the formula is lightweight in texture, glide on, soft and creamy texture, easy to apply with fingertips, easy to blend, buildable texture of the 18 colors. And I would say that's true. I've used both this formula and the Flora Kalahari palettes with brushes and also my fingers, and that's what's fun. And some people don't like to use their fingers, that's fine, but I use them, and I actually find it's really fun to use both, and it's a really easy palette and formula to use. And I'm really loving the silver in this collection because I'm noticing that it really makes my eyes pop. So I'm just going to give you like the three silvers they have in here. There's more of like a muted gray, purple silver. Then there's like the Tin Man gray, which is so pigmented. And there's more like one that's like more of a glitter topper. And that was like the one that was falling out. It's definitely a little bit more crumbly, but boy, is she pretty. And that's what I mean when you can tap this on. I'm just tapping it on and it just, boom, instant glam look. I'm feeling myself of like a very Beyonce, like a lot of her on the Renaissance tour. I'm noticing she's using a lot of silver with her costuming, at least for that silver outfit she has. She has a really beautiful eye makeup that has like silver, making her eyes look pop. And you can see like even with this look, because it's silver versus just a shimmer, like a pink shimmer shade, this is more subdued, but this is like makes my eyes look bigger. So I'm really loving that look. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so below and then clicking the all button for getting notifications when my videos go up. And then it really helps out my channel if you like the video and comment below. It helps out engagement. And as always, please be very kind with yourself and others and just be you. Until the next video, take care, beauty fam. Bye.